Good morning. Here's Delegate Runyon, and Delegate Bloxham is here too. All right. Good morning. Welcome to our first Natural Resources Subcommittee meeting of the 2025 legislative session. Mr. Clerk, could you please open our roll? A quorum is present, but I do see Delegate Bloxham in the front row too. Can we mark him as present too? All right. Welcome back to the family, Delegate Bloxham. We do have one administrative task this morning for HB 1662. We will be taking that by for the day at the request of the patron. Can I get a motion, please? All those in favor of taking 1662 by for the day, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, that one is by for the day. I'm going to ask, is Delegate Lawfer here yet? Oh, there you are, right behind the podium. If you would like to go first. Thank you. Delegate Lawfer, you have three bills before us. Which one would you like to tackle first?
Let's start with 1974. That was a good year.
HB 1974 is before the committee.
All right. Good morning, members of the committee and Madam Chair. HB 1974 is lovingly called the Mattress Stewardship Program. This legislation creates a self-sustaining mattress stewardship program where a recycling fee is assessed on each mattress sold in the Commonwealth. The program provides no-cost and accessible statewide opportunities for residents to discard used mattresses. The state would partner with a nonprofit organization to develop and implement the program, including coordinating with local governments, recycling facilities, and retailers to ensure program success. Four other states, including that include Connecticut and Rhode Island, have mattress recycling programs. 3 of them have been in operation for nearly a decade. This bill is supported by mattress producers from the International Sleep Products Association as they recognize the opportunity to save landfill space and curb mattress dumping. This is a real solution to a common problem. And I just want to point out that the MRC estimates 15 to 20 million mattresses are discarded every year, or an average of 50,000 per day. And 75% of the mattress is recyclable. And I bet after this meeting, you're going to see mattresses on the side of the road because that's what happened to me. This bill was brought to me by a constituent who is currently recycling mattresses in my district.
Thank you so much, Delegate Lawfer. Are there any questions from our committee about the mattress bill? Okay, I don't see any hands up yet. Are there any folks in the room who'd wish to speak to the bill?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Cassie Schroth with McGuire Woods Consulting on behalf of the International Sleep Products Association, and we support the bill and worked with Delegate Lawfer on this language. As she mentioned, this is being successful in other states and really provides people a way to get rid of their mattresses without them going to the landfill and having them be recycled. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. My name is Ellie Wilson. I'm with Environment Virginia. We are in support of this bill. These stewardship type programs are really effective at managing these difficult to manage types of waste. When it is on the consumer to figure out the best way to discard of their trash, and it ultimately ends up costing them money and the research to figure out what to do with it. Once they're done with it, they kind of just want to be done with it. So having free, convenient options in order to make sure that it's recycled sustainably is an effective way to manage our waste. So we're in support of the bill, and we hope you do too.
Great. Thank you so much. I have some hands up from our committee members. Delegate Bloxham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question. especially when she says free and convenient, I have no problem with that, but I'm trying to figure out in my area, they're not going to ship a mattress out to Charlottesville. I'm trying to figure out what we would do with our mattresses.
So this would be a combined effort with industry, as in industry of the mattresses, recycling, as well as localities. And part of the bill says that we'll have a council within 25 miles of an area. So I know you're in the Eastern Shore. I'm hoping that we can get one of these facilities in your area, which would be transporting the mattress to the recycling facility, if that makes sense.
Do you have a follow-up, Delegate Bloxham?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. That sounds great, and I'm trying to figure out the cost. And I guess DEQ, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how the flow. I'm assuming the fee is on the mattress when you buy it.
Correct.
So the mattress seller would have to collect and send in. And I'm just trying to figure out the whole flow of this, if you understand. I mean, I would love to figure out, I hate government to tell me not to throw something away and then not tell me where to throw it.
Sure.
And I'm trying to figure out the flow of this. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. I
Yes.
think I can answer this, but I will defer to Cassie.
All right.
I think the delegate can as well, Madam Chair. Delegate Bloxham, you're exactly right, is that the fee put on the front end goes into a fund that helps coordinate for mattress drop-offs and transport all over the state. So even if there is no recycling center on the Eastern Shore, the coordinating nonprofit would take those mattresses and get them where they need to be recycled.
Thank you very much. Delegate Willett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this may be another question for the witnesses, trying to get some perspective on how this has worked in other states. Just if there are some sort of shining examples there we should be looking at.
Sure. So, I think Rhode Island and Connecticut are two good examples. There are some rural areas in those states and some more populous areas, and within them, just as the bill requires, there is an ability to drop off a mattress within a certain number of miles of every citizen. And that could mean that there would be a mattress drop-off at the local landfill, retailers. There's multiple ways that the nonprofit organization that runs these in other states does a whole analysis of the state and finds the best way to get this opportunity in front of all the citizens.
Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question of the patron or the industry folks would be, would you be prohibited under this bill from having the landfill dispose of a mattress? I have similar circumstances to Delegate Bloxham in that I have got several localities that are more than 25 miles from a landfill and very remote, seeing how that would be very challenging to establish a place that a mattress could be collected. I think in my part of the world, I just don't see the effectiveness. So I'm going to go back to my question, Madam Chair. Are you prohibited from disposing a mattress in a landfill?
That is, Madam Chair.
Yes,
I would answer
Delegate.
the delegate that is not the intention of the bill. The intention is that we want to take as many mattresses as possible to a recycling center to actually increase the length of the landfill. Because mattresses take up a lot of space. Landfill is all about, cubic feet. And we want to make sure that we're diverting as many as possible so that we can actually increase the life of the landfill. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any folks here who speak in opposition to this bill? Okay. Nope. And I don't think we have any folks online for this bill. All right. The committee operates by motion.
Madam Chair?
Delegate Willett.
Yes, Madam Chair. I very much appreciate this issue. I think we all do. And to the delegate, to the patron's point, we absolutely will drive home and drive right by multiple mattresses on the side of the road. What I'm hearing is I think we need a little more work on this. And I think if we could table this for now, gently lay this on the table, and then get back to it with more thought, that would be good. So my motion would be to gently lay this on the table.
All right. It's been motioned to gently lay this bill on the table and properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, if you can please open up the roll. And that motion is approved on a vote of 10-0.
Well, I appreciate the questions. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, isn't it great that we started the first meeting off with a mattress bill at 7:30 in the morning? I do want to work on this issue because it's not just about recycling. It's really about also increasing the life of a landfill, which we know we need to do.
Yeah.
So we can go on to House Bill 2000, which is also a great year. This is about dam safety. HB 2000 will revise multiple sections of Dam Safety Act as well as the Dam Safety Flood Prevention and Protection Assistance Fund. It reflects the consensus recommendations of a stakeholder group convened by the Department of Conservation and Recreation in 2024. That included professional engineers, dam owners, agency representatives, and local government and others. It establishes a tiered approach for our low hazard dams. It clarifies local government authority to work with the Department of Conservation and Recreation to avert an impending dam failure, and it standardizes references to local emergency management. HB 1916 also reduces the amount of funds required for an owner to access the dam fund and will make those funds more accessible for dam owners. There's thousands of dams in the Commonwealth, many constructed on property decades ago, including, I can say I grew up on a farm, we would put up water mitigation, and these dams are constructed before development in roads or neighborhoods. So HB 2000 seeks to to give a nuanced approach to low hazard dams, provides needed funds for dams that are in high risk zones so that they can be remediated, and provides a structure for local and state authorities to intervene when necessary. I hope it will be the will of the committee to report HB 2000.
Thank you so much, Delegate Lawford. By any chance, do you have any updates, amendments?
Oh my gosh, sorry. Yes, I do have amendments.
Okay.
And honestly, they're further back in they're actually taken from the Senate. Bill has a cognate, and they changed a couple of things in the back. So can I move to have the substitute? Or
The substitute or an amendment?
it's the substitute, isn't it?
Are there amendments?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's amendments.
Can we move for the amendments to be properly before us? All right, so there's a motion and a second to move the amendments.
Yes.
Could you describe the amendments before we act on that?
It's really just technical in nature.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is the third bill, so.
No, you're all good. Can we have the clerk read them then?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Thank
you.
you. Sorry.
Madam Chairman, there are 4 line amendments. On line 339, introduced after able, insert and agrees. On line 340, introduced after danger, insert on behalf of the department. On line 340, introduced after director, strike shall, insert may. On line 341, introduced after the locality, strike shall take, and insert is authorized to undertake on behalf of the department and the terms and conditions applicable to the delegated actions.
Okay, so there's been a motion that's been properly seconded to move these amendments before us so that they're properly before us. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. So now the bill as amended is before us. Are there questions from our committee members? Okay, I don't see any hands up at this time. Are there folks in the audience who would like to speak in support of the dam bill? Oh, the dam bill, get it. Okay, that's a good joke.
No. If we didn't make one damn joke, it would be a bad morning. That was mine. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Matt Wells, Director of the Department of Conservation and Recreation. I appreciate the patron bringing the bill. She did an excellent job describing it. The amendments that you all just adopted resolved some concerns that were raised by local government. And so with that, I'm not aware of any concerns and only support for this bill. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but we do support the measure.
Great, thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jay Ford with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We also support this legislation for all of the reasons mentioned. This represents a risk to both human safety, water quality, and community preparedness as climate change puts additional stressors on these dams. We have got to have more flexibility in working with landowners and getting them into the grant program. So we're really grateful to the agency for the work they put into this and to the delegate for coming at this issue 2 years in a row. And we hope you will look favorably upon this bill.
Great. Thank you so much. 1 second. Delegate Bloxham, I see your hand up. Is your a question for one of these witnesses?
I guess it's for the director. I see that this bill has no physical impact. Is that coming, and it looks like that we've lowered the match and then made a minimum required payment. Is that, we can do what we need to do with the funds that are already appropriated for this?
Madam Chair, Delegate, I would say that the issue of dam safety is one that we continue to try to tackle with the funding that's available. The goal here is to make the fund more accessible for dam owners. So there is no fiscal impact. Our goal is to try to make this a little bit more accessible because right now a 50% match, particularly for private low-income dam owners, is really too high to make.
Thank you very much. Delegate Ware?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And my question, I think, would be to Director Wells as well. I guess for the state, the impact is minimal. One of the counties I represent has sent in their view that it could cost them $35 million. That's a chunk of change even for a large county like Chesterfield. Do you have any comments on that? It does have the effect on small and large localities, potentially.
Certainly, Madam Chair, Delegate Ware, we did communicate with Chesterfield County, which was the locality that mentioned the $35 million. I think that they were misreading the bill to some degree, and we went back and forth, and they are comfortable with it now, particularly with the amendments that we have adopted. The amendments that the committee adopted made it clear that in an emergency situation, the department can act in concert with the local government and not simply mandate that they take action. So that seems to resolve the local concerns and the local fiscal impact.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Ware. Thank you, Director. I think there was one other witness to testify in favor.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Ian Blair, representing Wetlands Watch, recognizing that MRISA data has shown that since 2006, precipitation has increased across the state 18%. Any way of mitigating catastrophic structural dam failures is something that we support, so we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any folks in the room here to speak in opposition to the bill? All right. Are there any other questions from our committee? Do you have a last word?
Thank you. I just want to mention that the soil and water districts are also in favor of the bill.
Great. All right. Well, that is so wonderful to have some bipartisan support. I just want to note we did get a letter from the Speaker's office that this bill needs to go to appropriations. So hopefully without a fist, you'll be able to sail through that process. So the motion should be to report and refer as amended. All right. So the motion to report and refer as amended to appropriations has been seconded? Yes. And so that's properly before us. Mr. Clerk, if you can please open the roll.
I feel like I cannot speak. I'm going to grab some water.
All right, please cast your vote. Wonderful. By a vote of 10-0, you will be moving on. Delegate Loeffler. All right.
Live to fight another day.
Live for another day. So you have one bill left.
Yes, and this is House Bill 1916. I can say I don't know anything about that year. So this is a bill that seeks, good morning again, seeks to create a formal process to recycle tires. Several constituents have brought this issue to my attention. One constituent is currently hauling tires to recycling centers and notices that there's several bad actors that collect the tires and then dump them on farmland. And I also have several constituents that find these waste tires on their property, and one complained that a waste tire had impeded the water flow on his property and caused over $10,000 in damage. It's similar to the bill last year. It establishes a definition for many of the, actually, before I continue, I'm sorry. I do have several amendments. Is that right? Yes. And I would love if the attorney could explain them, or do you have?
Sure. Council, could you please explain the amendments?
Madam Chairman, there are several line amendments to this bill. On line 96, introduced after shall, they're striking all the language on line 96 through 102 and through Romanet 5 on line 103. In its place, you're inserting register with the department on a form provided by the department. Such registration shall include the name, address, and federal and state tax identification number of the hauler's business, certification from State Corporation Commission that the hauler is a valid entity authorized to transact business in the Commonwealth, a copy of any local business license, if applicable, the approximate number of waste tires hauled in a year, the intended location for the waste tires, and then on line 145, introduce after tire, strike producers, and on line 177, we're striking all the lines on 177 and 178. The fourth and seventh line amendments are just renumbering the list. And then the sixth line amendment on 180, introduced after reimbursement 2, striking all the lines on 180 and through the code section 10.1, 1418.2 on line 181, and insert haulers registered pursuant to subsection C of 10.1, 1418.2 that haul waste tires generated in the Commonwealth.
Can we please move the amendments so that they're properly before us? All right. We have a motion to move the amendments that's been properly seconded. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Great. So the bill as amended is now before us.
So many of those were to define hauler, as well as make sure that the reimbursement goes back to the hauler. So those were the amendments. And so it really just kind of, creates the process that the haulers must fill out and track the waste tires to make sure that they're actually deposited at the end user. And it does provide, as I said, a reimbursement for the tire haulers and streamlines the process. There is one other amendment I'd like to propose, which I had sent in later, which was on line, I got it here. It's on line 192. Actually, we'll keep the rate of 50 cents and strike the beginning. It would strike 192, 193, which was that the fee would be increased. So the fee would stay, I'm sorry, the fee is supposed to go to $1. You guys, I need some coffee, for real. So the fee currently is 50 cents when somebody buys a new tire, and we would raise that to $1 to help facilitate this process.
So I think that the line amendment should be on line 193.
Thank you.
Instead of $2, it should be $1.
Correct.
Okay. Can we move that single amendment, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of moving that amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So the bill as amended is
Thank
now
you.
before us.
So I do have several supporters here. I will say again, this was brought to me by constituents. I know it was brought before this body last year as well. So I'd love to.
Before we have our supporters come up, can I see if there are any questions from our committee members? Okay. Oh, Delegate Bloxham.
Madam Chair, thank you. So if I buy the tires, I'm trying to figure out where I count. Do I count just the ones I sold? Do I count the ones I bought? Or do I count the ones that the customer doesn't take after I sell them? I'm trying to figure out where
So the fee is incurred when you buy the tire, and then it is put into a fund. Is that what? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
When I say buy the tire, I'm sorry. Where I'm a dealer. So the fee is incurred like it is now when the customer buys the tire.
Correct. Sorry, Madam Chair. I would say to the delegate, that's correct.
Yes.
So,
Delegate Bloxham?
yes, ma'am. I'm just trying to complete the loop, because if I buy 600 tires, the department's only going to know how many I sold. If I don't tell them how many I sold correctly, then there's a loophole that I don't have to report them all. And I guess the backside of that is I don't own the waste tire the customer owns the tire. It's his tire, and there's no way for me to make him give it to me so I can throw it away and pull it on I'm the hauler. So then I would fall into this system where I would have to report sold, picked up, delivered, if I understand the bill correctly.
Madam Chair, I would say to
Delegate
the
Lawfer.
delegate, in lines 96 through 107, this is where we're creating the registry, which is that the hauler would now be part of a registry where you are reporting these things. If that, Madam Chair, is how I would answer the delegate.
Okay. All right, Delegate Runyon has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question deals with the agricultural uses of used tires. In our part of the world, and I assume others, tires are oftentimes used on the farm to cover crop materials or feed materials outside. And so it would not be unusual to have hundreds of tires, Madam Chair, on a farm. How does the agricultural use of used tires, how are they impacted by this bill? Or would they be impacted by this bill, Madam Chair?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
I would respond to the delegate that I'm quickly reading through. There is exceptions for this. I do believe it's like line 94, line 93 to 94. I would answer to the delegate, I believe. Accumulate otherwise placed on this project. Just requiring a permit. And that is current code of having 100 waste tires or more.
Yep. Did you is this a phone a friend?
So, Madam Chair, Kyle Shreve on behalf of the Virginia Forestry Association. We represent the landowners that are having tires dumped on forest land, and then the owner. To answer Delegate Runyon's question, Madam Chair, this is a current program in the code. We're just updating it to try to make it work better. Currently, it reimburses haulers that come out to folks if they call them and ask for funding. So if they are using them as an agricultural use and don't call and ask for the money of the program to take them away, then we don't pay for it. This is a bill that started last year. If you will recall, we had an awful lot of negotiations among them. We don't change in the bill how the fee is collected by DEQ. That's a current fund. They are collecting it now. And so what we're doing is trying to make it easier to reimburse the hauler that comes out and gets it and disposes of it. There's been a lot of questions on the back end about how that works and where those tires go. We need to answer those questions relatively soon to make sure we're disposing of them properly. It's really to try to make DEQ's current waste tire program better so that the money is available when a landowner calls and asks a hauler to come out and take away the tires through no fault of their own. Often these tires are dumped on their property illegally. I apologize, Delegate. They're dumped illegally, and so no fault of the landowner. They're trying to get it away, trying to haul the tires away from their property so that it doesn't interrupt their silvicultural activities on the property or the health of the forest.
Great, thank you for
and
that.
we are in support of the bill to save a little time.
The Forestry.
Thank you.
Forestry Association. Okay. Other folks here in support?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Rob Shin, representing the Recycling Materials Association. Some of our folks are the biggest players in this area, including haulers. It's very clear the current system is broken. Just witness all the tires you see when you're hiking in the woods, along rivers. I mean, we've got a problem, and I think this bill takes us a significant step forward. I'm not sure we're ever going to get the perfect program, but I think this is a big step in the right direction. Just one kind of technical thing. When I was trying to hear the amendments, on line 72, under the definition of waste tire processing facility, I think I talked to the delegates aide about including the word baling. One of our members, Emmanuel, did that get included or not?
I put it on mine.
So one of the largest players in the space, Manual Tires, they take hundreds of thousands of tires, they bale them, put them on containers, send them overseas to a paralysis facility for beneficial reuse. So that word would need to be added to capture them as a hauler. Other than that, I think we like the bill. It's a significant step forward.
Great. Thank you very much, Rob. I don't think that, Council, I don't think that that amendment was made earlier, correct? Okay, it was not. Okay.
You're okay with that, right?
Yeah, I put it in there. I did email that word as well.
Okay. Yes, so if we would like that amendment to be made, we need that motion. All right, all those in favor of updating the waste tire producer definition to include a baler, baling, please say aye. Aye, thank you. Any opposition? All right, as amended times 3. Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Bo Keeney, representing the Virginia Automotive Association. We represent the automotive repair facilities that ultimately end up using a lot of these haulers and have to deal with the issue of getting rid of the tires that are put onto vehicles. This has been an issue. We've taken a look at it last year. This takes the processes that are in place under DEQ and makes great advances in them. So from the Virginia Automotive Association, from the repair shop side, we absolutely support the bill, and thank you for continuing to work on it.
Great, thank you. Are there any folks in the room who are here in opposition to the bill? Good morning.
Madam Chair, Brett Vassey, Virginia Manufacturers Association. We have 2 automotive tire manufacturing facilities in the Commonwealth. We still remain concerned that the definition of producer is not tight enough. We think at the end of that definition, it should be very clear that this excludes any manufacturing facility. So that it's perfectly clear that we're talking about post-consumer, not waste, because we still have waste tires out of our plants where they don't meet quality standards, and then we have to either reprocess them or we put them into beneficial use. But we need that very clear exception for the manufacturing sites not to be construed as tire producers. And then, Madam Chair, the last issue, which I would hope you would bring DEQ up here to explain, this bill is not going to solve our tire problem. It is not going to solve your waste problem. I have a tree farm. People dump tires on my property all the time. Ask your local government how many citations they've issued for illegal dumping in the last year. Probably none. They don't see it as a priority. You're not going to solve your waste problem that way. Additionally, we have no place for our tires to go right now in the state's tire program. It went to a waste to energy facility in North Carolina. We currently have 2 million tires a year we have no home for. We really need the enactment clause to be much more broad to evaluate how are we going to beneficially reuse, recycle these tires, because they cannot go into landfills. And we would hope that DEQ could explain those details today.
Thank you. There are rarely any bills that's a panacea for all the issues that we're trying to deal with. I think we have one person online. Oh, he did not come. All right. Thank you very much. The bill is back before the committee. Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A question for the patron, Madam Chair. We've talked about the fund, and the bill now proposes a 50-cent increase to $1. Do we know how much money's in the fund, how much money's gone in the fund, let's say over the last 2 or 3 years, and then what those dollars have been expended for? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. Delegate Lawford, do you know that, or if our folks from DEQ can help answer that?
Madam Chair, thank you, Delegate, for that question. I do not have that answer. And I don't know if anybody is in the room here.
Okay. Like short and can't see above. Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Brandon Bull, Policy Director at the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. Do want to thank Delegate Lawfer for meeting with us to hear some of our concerns about the bill. The administration does have a concern about the increase in the fee, recognizing with the amendments today it's been reduced. As far as the existing funds, so the way this works is there is an existing code a fee of 50 cents levied on every new tire sold that goes into DEQ does not collect that money per se. That fee is in the taxation part of the code, but that money goes into the waste tire end user reimbursement fund, and DEQ does administer the waste tire end user reimbursement fund, and we use that money to provide reimbursement to the ultimate end users of the tires. So some of those are facilities that are engaged in incineration, but eligible uses also include civil engineering applications, using waste tires to make asphalt, those types of things. In addition, I would note there's been, there's some budget language for many years that also redirects some of the money that's collected into the waste tire end user reimbursement fund. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It answers, I guess, a portion of it. And I do want to thank the patron for bringing this bill forward. This is an issue in my part of the world, as it appears to be throughout the Commonwealth. But I do think it's important to note, if we're going to have a 100% increase in a fee, it would be good to know how many dollars are there, how those dollars are being spent, and what the anticipated revenue is. But thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Delegate Runyon. All right, the committee operates by motion. Delegate Willett.
Yes, Madam Chair. Again, I make similar remarks to the mattress bill. This is a blight, and it's an environmental hazard that we got to deal with. I think we're still in progress here, and I understand there's a study in progress that this could be incorporated into. So my motion would be to gently lay this bill on the table, but also have a letter that would recommend including this in the study.
So that would be, the motion would be to lay gently on the table and ask Chairman Lopez to write a letter to have this issue further studied? Okay. Is there a second for that? Second. All right. I think we have to go on the boards to gently lay this table on the table. Lay this bill
Lay
on the
this
table.
tire on the table, I guess so.
All right, please cast your vote. All right, thank you so much, Delegate Law, for that bill. The vote on that bill is 10-0. Okay, Chairman Lopez is going to go next.
Good morning, members of the subcommittee. We have 3 technical amendments that I can describe, or the attorney can describe. But basically, it's on line 12. It replaces accept with acquire or accept. Line 14, we just want to capitalize the word the for the conservation fund. And line 15, replace up to with approximately, so that it's not interpreted as a cap on the acres, because right now they're working on the terms of the acreage for the final survey. We just want to make sure that we go above 1,200 acres if we're able to capture that.
Great. And so we have House Bill 2306 before us, and Delegate Lopez would like to make those amendments. Can we move them so they're properly before us? All right. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? All right. So the bill as amended is now before us. Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The campaign to create Oak Hill State Park has been an extraordinary effort by citizens, the local government, historic preservationists, and the Commonwealth. The Oak Hill property is approximately 1,200-acre property around 3-mile frontage in Loudon near Aldie and Middleburg that can be acquired by the Commonwealth without spending general funds. Let me repeat, without spending general funds. Oak Hill was the homestead of President James Monroe. The original Monroe Doctrine was written in the dining room. It's dripping with history of Virginia and the nation. There are artifacts at the house from Lafayette, Dolly Madison, and the Civil War. Equally significant, the property has valuable stories to tell us about the role of enslaved African Americans and the legacy of indigenous people. It's some of the first fully mechanized agricultural systems built in Virginia on site, and it's also the site of the first dinosaur bones found in the United States east of the Mississippi. Here's the thing. The site and the land is the only presidential home of a founding father still in private hands. We are lucky that it has been so lovingly cared for and preserved by a succession of families, only approximately 5 families. The current owners want to open it up for all Virginians and visitors to Virginia to enjoy. In fact, the family has refused purchase offers from developers in excess of $55 million for these 1,200 acres. And this is truly pristine and centrally located site. Instead, the family wants to give it to the Commonwealth for pennies on the dollar. However, due to generational changes, a transfer of the property has to occur during the upcoming year because family members are unable to live on and manage it after 2025. Several members of the General Assembly and also state officials have visited the site, and the property is suitable for camping, fishing, hiking, biking, and bird watching. On top of the historic buildings, we'd be preserving farmland, forest land, open fields, and extensive river frontage. The good news is Loudoun County has already set aside $22 million to purchase the property. But there's more. It'll also be transferred with an endowment that will cover operating and capital costs for the foreseeable future. The $20 million endowment administered by a community foundation with earnings of approximately 8% annually and a 4.5% spend rate will generate just over $1 million in income annually. Added to the rental income from the farmlands and 10 tenant houses on the property, a minimum of $1.2 million should be available annually for operations and maintenance. There is a formal feasibility study that we understand has been completed. In fact, I just saw it this morning. And that study confirms the financial health of the endeavor that I just described. So, the preservation of a founding father's home and large tracts of lands of types that are all too rare in Northern Virginia, the creation of a state park, and the preservation of truly amazing history here in the Commonwealth is a rare opportunity. The Conservation Trust, Nova Parks, the American Battlefield Trust, the Nature Conservancy, Preservation Virginia, and numerous other organizations also agree. I hope you do too, and that you'll support this bill. And I have a few folks who will speak in favor of the bill.
Great. Thank you so much, Chairman Torian. I'm sorry, Chairman Lopez. I am thinking about referring bills to appropriations. Okay, Chairman Lopez. Are there any questions from our committee? Members, Delegate Bloxham.
Just one question, Madam Chair. When you changed in your amendment from or you included acquire, you said instead of just accepting it on behalf of the Commonwealth or acquire. So I'm assuming that does mean that we're going to have some state funds.
This allows the states. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. This allows the states to use non-general fund monies, such as the already awarded state like Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for the project.
All right. Any other questions from our committee members? Okay. Folks who are here to speak in support of this bill?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Heather Richards with the Conservation Fund. I'm really pleased to be here today to speak in support of this bill. It's been a privilege to work with the Delashmet family, who are the current owners and have stewarded the property for more than 70 years and are excited to turn the property over to the state in excellent condition so that it can be shared with all citizens of the Commonwealth. We have support from more than 30 organizations from nationwide all the way down to the very local level, the Aldi Historical Association, the Aldi Ruritan Club, and Loudoun County as well. So I ask you to support this bill and look forward to working with the Commonwealth to bring it into reality.
Thank you so much. Here we go. Good morning.
Jonathan Freeman, representing Loudoun County. Just want to thank the patron for bringing this bill forward. This is a beautiful property with significant historical value to the Commonwealth and the United States as well. So we are happy to support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Alexander McCauley for the Conservation Fund and the American Battlefield Trust. And we want to thank Delegate Lopez, who came and spent a considerable amount of time on the property, met with the owners, and has done a great deal of due diligence on this. So thank you, Delegate Lopez.
Thank you. Are there any folks who are here to speak in opposition to this bill? All right. Any other questions? Oh, Delegate Krizek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Chairman Lopez. What I'm wondering about is what will happen to this land if we don't pass this bill?
So the family are elderly, and they would like to be able to move forward. And there are some timing issues. And can you speak to this? Well, because I don't know the mind of the family as well.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. If I could respond, the family is interested in leaving the property before the end of the year. They do not have family members who want to continue to own and manage the property. And should the state not accept the property, it could run the risk of being developed in the future. We hope that we would find another home for it, but this truly is the best option for the property, is to be managed by the state. This is a resource of national significance.
Great, thank you. And it sounds like there's a timeliness issue with that. All right, Delegate Willett.
Madam Chair, a comment, then a motion.
Delegate Willett, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did get a preview of this bill and a preview of what is just absolutely an extraordinary opportunity. We cannot let this go. These things, these opportunities do not come along maybe once in 100 years, maybe never again in this case, given the historical significance. And for all those reasons, Madam Chair, I move to report. As amended.
Second. There's been there's been a motion to move and to report as amended. That's been properly seconded. Delegate Bloxham, did you?
Just wondering if we need to refer this to approps or not.
Excellent question.
To see the feasibility study.
We do not have a letter. That's why Chairman Torian is on the
I will say
not have a letter.
There is a budget amendment that Delegate Bulova has in House Approps.
That's why I was wondering if this needs to mirror up with the budget amendment so we can run it through approps.
All right. While we don't have a letter, I have colleagues who suggest we be safe and sorry. So we will, the motion should be to report and refer as amended to appropriations. Yep.
Second.
All right. Can we please open the roll? Did you want to vote? Come back and vote? You want us to mark it for you?
I can't vote. You have 10.
Okay. In full. Okay. And this bill passes out of the subcommittee by a vote of 10-0.
Thank you, members of the committee.
It's exciting. Okay. Delegate Anthony? Delegate Anthony, you have two bills before us. Is there one you would prefer to present first?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The first one is House Bill 2030. We are still doing extensive amendments to this particular bill and would like to request to go by for the day.
All right, so House Bill 2030 will go by for the day. Let me just double check. We will be meeting once more, the subcommittee will, so we'll take that up next time. Can we have that be moved and properly seconded, please? It's been moved and seconded that this bill go by for the day. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Great. Okay, your next bill.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. Before you is House Bill 2267, Air Quality Monitoring Program for certain communities, Department of Environmental Quality, also known as DEQ, to establish and report. This requires the Department of Environmental Quality to establish an ongoing air quality monitoring program for fence-line communities as defined in the bill. Disproportionately impacted by toxic metals, these communities, coal dust pollution, and other inhalable particulate matter that can cause adverse health effects, including the particulate matter grades of PM 2.5 and PM 10 in the Commonwealth. And so this bill does require DEQ to establish the ongoing air monitoring program. And then, of course, to set requirements for developers to provide comprehensive documentation. So just to go line by line, it does expand the powers and the duties of the Virginia Council on Environmental Justice, VCEJ. It does incorporate environmental justice considerations in all of the Commonwealth policies. It does strengthen the partnerships between federal, tribal, and local agencies. It focuses on research assessments related to environmental risk, especially for underserved communities. It is integrating findings and recommendations from the air quality monitoring program that is referenced in 10.1-1322.6. It does establish an air quality monitoring program targeting fence line communities disproportionately affected by, again, toxic metals, coal dust pollution. We did define the particulate matter of PM 2.5 and PM 10. These are known for adverse health effects. It does allow the DEQ to conduct annual monitoring and submit findings to both the General Assembly and the VCEJ. Provide detailed analysis of pollution levels, health risk, and necessary mitigation measures. It does mandate recommended actions when pollution thresholds set by the PPA are exceeded. It enforces the annual General Assembly reviews of these findings. And so there is a strong focus on equity, a strong emphasis on environmental justice as a central element of this. It does have explicit references to pollutants, and then it has actionable recommendations. And so I just want to make sure that we know we applaud the Department of Environmental Quality for their efforts in what we call the Tidewater Air Monitoring Evaluation Project, TAME. The DEQ currently highlights its work in Lambert's Point in Norfolk and in the Southeast community in Newport News. This project involves placing air quality monitors and engaging with the community. DEQ considers the TAME project sufficient, but this bill codifies the program across the Commonwealth, not just in those two communities. We value DEQ's commitment to the TAME project and its work with the Lambert's Point and the Newport News communities. These efforts demonstrate the importance of addressing air quality concerns, especially in vulnerable communities. I want to stress that while the TAME project is commendable, the HB 2267 does create a statewide framework that ensures consistent monitoring and accountability across all fence line communities, not just in the Hampton Roads area. I just want to point out it does mandate regular reporting to the General Assembly to ensure legislative oversight and actionable recommendations. And so while the TAME project addresses those regional concerns, we want to codify HB 2267 to establish a comprehensive infrastructure to systematically identify and mitigate air quality issues, especially in fence line communities. And so I hope that is the will of the committee to pass this bill.
Thank you so much, Delegate Anthony. I do have a question, as a couple of folks with questions from the committee. We'll start with Delegate Herring.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. So, I passed the Environmental Justice Task Force in 2020. So either for the patron or council, how is this different than what is already current law?
I know that the advisory board of the VCEJ, it is an advisory commission to advise the governor. What this bill does, it codifies the program that is already set by DEQ, so that we can measure air quality across the Commonwealth. And so it expands the role of the Environmental Justice Commission, Council, the Council on Environmental Justice, so they can get that reporting as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Delegate Krizek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question for the delegate. So what happens? I like the robust reporting that you've got in this bill, but what's the next step after the reporting? Where's the accountability? Where's the action?
So the accountability comes with reporting to the General Assembly. Right now, with the regular TAME program, the General Assembly does not have the ability to act on it. And so with the advisory of the Council of Environmental Justice, who advises the governor's administration, and with reporting to the General Assembly, we are hoping to build that infrastructure so that we can act on data. The General Assembly acts on good data in order to provide good legislation.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from committee members? Delegate Bloxham?
I did not see a fisc on this, Madam Chair, and I was just curious if the patron has an idea about what this will cost. Because if I understand it correctly, we're taking the program that we have in Norfolk around the coal plants monitoring and making it statewide at any fence line community, if I understand what the bill does.
Yes, and so DEQ has already established that particular air monitoring program. It just codifies that program across the Commonwealth. So I do not have a FISC.
Okay, great. Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and part of my question got answered. So we do not, to confirm, Madam Chair, we do not have an understanding of the cost that this would incur. This seems like a really extensive undertaking, a pretty large undertaking. I'd be interested in hearing from DEQ what it would require for them to undertake this, both at the regional level, the Hampton Roads level, as I think we talked about the coal dust, and then as it expands statewide. I'd be very interested in that, Madam Chair.
Brendan.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Brandon Bull, Policy Director with the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. Want to thank Delegate Anthony's office for meeting with us yesterday to listen to some of the administration's concerns. Also want to thank her for her kind words about our Tidewater Air Monitoring Evaluation, or TAME project, which we are very proud of. Madam Chair, to answer the delegate's question, DEQ is not certain how many fence line communities there are in the Commonwealth, but air monitoring equipment is very expensive. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars per site. As far as to take a program statewide and have air quality monitoring at every fence line community, we're talking probably tens of billions of dollars. We also have concerns about the timing in the bill. The bill calls for us to start reporting information as early as October of 2026. It takes time to stand up these, to find sites, to determine the best place to put the air quality monitor, and then start collecting data. And you need multiple samples and readings in order to be able to take something meaningful away from the data. I'll just add, for reference, in addition to the TAME project, DEQ maintains a statewide ambient air quality monitoring program. We have an air quality monitoring plan that has to be approved by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and it is approved by EPA. It includes 104 instruments across the state, monitors for the criteria pollutants, which include the particulate matter, PM2.5, PM10, and we do, pursuant to existing language in the code, we submit an annual report on air quality monitoring to the Virginia General Assembly. That's every year. It's on the General Assembly reports page as well as our website, and it documents the results of how we are doing as a state in terms of air quality and those criteria pollutants all across the Commonwealth. Be happy to answer any additional questions from the committee.
Great, thank you for that explanation, Brendan. All right. Are there folks in the room who are here to speak in support of this bill? You can come forward, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Committee. I'd like to thank Delegate Anthony for advancing this bill. This is very important. My name is Kim Sutterth. I am representing Virginia Interfaith Power and Light. I am also a resident of Norfolk, a constituent, and I also live in a fence line community. We are directly impacted by the particulate matter of coal dust and several other industrial pollutants. And we absolutely, where I live in the community that I represent, not here today, but everywhere I go, we want more community engagement. We want to be involved in the process because we are hurting and we need protection. So we are in support of this bill, and I thank you for your time.
Do you have a question, Delegate
Yes,
Herring?
Madam Chair, maybe she knows. Do you know how many fence line communities are in Virginia? How many there are?
I don't know, but I can tell you that where I live on the south side of Norfolk in Berkeley, and we are surrounded by industry, and the coal train tracks go by just about every hour on the hour. We can even see the coal dust in the vent system. I have to wipe it down every week. It's just collecting and collecting. So I think that this bill is something that will get us started, and maybe that's something that comes out of it. We can get that answer for you.
I think it's somewhere on the internet. It's just taking me a while to find it, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
And thank you for coming to testify. Of course. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jay Ford with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We do support this legislation. A couple of things I would just highlight. I think Delegate Herring's question is a pertinent one. It's the fact that we heard our agency say we don't know how many fence line communities we have, I think really highlights the need for more robust data. We've made some incredible strides over the last couple of years on environmental justice issues, but digging in and doing that hard work of building up the data set so you can have policies that reflect that is lacking. I get the sense that this is going to be a resource question here, but I do think we need to highlight the fact that we don't currently have a robust enough data set and durable data set. We're very supportive of what's happening with the TAME program, but that's only occurring because we got over $500,000 in federal money. And unfortunately, too often when we're looking at long-term impacts to fence line or environmental justice communities, it is treated as a one-off instead of something that the state has a long-term commitment to so we can develop durable long-term policy solutions. And so the second thing I would lift up is that Delegate Anthony's bill rightfully says, take this data and develop recommendations. And that is the part where the rubber really meets the road. And so for those two reasons and many others, we support this legislation. Thank you.
All right. So,
Delegate Herring?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So I first thank the patron because I think it's a good bill and it's sort of the questions we have. Well, how many fence line communities are there? And I do think that we definitely need an assessment of first what the scope of what we're dealing with, with when we're talking about particulate matter and definitely the environmental health impact. And I'm wondering, Madam Chair, if we can let this go by for the day and let me work with the patron to perhaps fashion something if it would be acceptable to her that may not have a large fiscal impact as what this is, I suspect, is going to have, like it will require. So, but it's up to the patron. So,
I'm amenable to going by for the day.
All right. So the motion is to go by for the day, and Delegate Anthony and Delegate Herring will connect. All right. Can we get a second? All right, that motion has been made and seconded to go by for the day. I think that's a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Delegate Garrett.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm really excited about this bill because I can't figure out a reason anyone should oppose this. Like, literally can't. So what we have in House Bill 2061 is essentially establishing a right-of-way. We have a private property owner in my district in Cumberland County who purchased a piece of real estate adjacent to a piece of state forest property. And when they had the survey done, they learned that one of the sheds, one of the outbuildings on the property sort of straddled the line between their private property and the state forest. We also learned, in sort of looking back through the real estate records, that there was a right-of-way issue wherein state property didn't have access without getting a right-of-way agreement. So essentially, the agreement that was reached that's brought peace to the proverbial valley was one where the State Forestry Department would gain a deeded right-of-way to access state property so that we could actually access the property that we already owned and manage those forests, and allow the public access to the state properties, and where the family would be allowed to leave the outbuilding, as it were, on the property, however, not be able to build anything new there. So it's really just codifying what I would argue is some sort of hybrid between a map error and a legal drafting error, and there it is. There are folks here from Department of Forestry, specifically Rob Farrell, to speak in support of the bill, and if anybody opposes it, I would love to hear why.
Great. Well, Delegate Garrett, don't tempt us. No, I'm kidding. Are there any folks on the committee who have any questions for the delegate? Okay. Are there folks in the audience who would like to speak in support of this bill? House Bill 2061. Here we come.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Rob Farrell, State Forester, Department of Forestry. This is us being neighborly with our neighbors to the state forest. We feel it's a relatively modest, a good agreement to help us manage the forest. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Are there any folks who are here in the audience to speak in opposition to this bill? All right. I don't think we have anybody online. Committee, it's back with us. All right. So, the motion has been made to move to report, properly seconded, and House Bill 2061 is now up for a vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the roll. Please cast your vote. All right, so this bill passes out of our committee 9-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank
you.
you.
Members of the committee.
Okay, Delegate Martinez.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here to talk about HB 2238. It is important for conservation, and it is from the town of Leesburg. The town puts forth great effort to save tree canopy, as there has been approximate 25% decline in the last decade. Maintaining existing canopy, along with planting new trees that will develop, is vital to a healthy tree canopy. When the critical root zone is not factored into the development plans, existing trees may suffer fatal damages during development. And even if those trees are designated for preservation, mature trees on adjacent properties may also be severely and fatally damaged as a result of development. Although the town can require placement of tree or replacement of trees removed, it needs a greater ability to require preservation of existing trees because there is no guarantee that the replacement trees will live to full maturity. Mature trees have well-established root systems, making them more resilient to environmental stresses and droughts. Young trees require significant investment to ensure survival. Replanted trees have a lower survival rate and may take decades to provide the same benefit to all mature trees. Tree canopies intercept rainfall, slowing down runoff and allowing water to infiltrate the ground, thus reducing the amount of sediment and pollutants carried into streams. Root systems absorb excess nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus, preventing them from reaching waterways, which directly impacts TMDL requirements. Mature trees provide important shade to mitigate the urban heat island effect and plays a role in reducing heat-related illnesses. Hospitalizations related to heat-related illnesses in Virginia rose 179% between 2016 and 2020. By illustrating the overlap of development activities with critical root zones, more data-driven decisions can be made regarding tree preservation plans. This will help stakeholders resolve conflicts, choose trees for removals or preservation, and allow for identification of alternative construction measures. Keith Markle from the town of Leesburg is here, and I'll defer to him for some questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Delegate Martinez. Are there any folks on the committee who have any questions for the delegate? All right. I don't see any. Are there folks in the audience who'd like to speak in support of the bill? So I don't see anybody in the audience. Anybody here speaking in opposition to the bill? All right. We do have one person online. Mr. Mark. Oh, here's some folks coming up. Thank you. Sorry, it's moving fast.
Madam Chair, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders. I almost went a full session without talking trees. That would have been a record. Andrew Clark with the Home Builders Association. The delegate luckily was able to connect us with the town yesterday. Had a good conversation with the deputy county manager, and committed to working with them in the off season. We think there's actually some local authority where they may be able to address some of these issues. With this particular bill, I think, the biggest red flag to us was the language with dealing with crossing into adjacent properties. Obviously, in smaller communities, that may not be as much of a concern, but if you're talking about big, larger greenfield development, there's a lot of tension about people coming over and surveying your property. We also had a lot of engineers and consultants say, well, if we're going to have to survey every single property on a development site, could be hundreds, thousands of trees, there's almost an incentive to just clear cut the trees instead of going one by one and trying to do these measurements and work with the county to adjust the canopy preservation limits and things like that. So for what it's worth, we're going to, regardless of what happens with this bill, work with the town to find a solution, and would ask that give us a year to have that conversation and come back if there's really no solution. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Sarah Thomas on behalf of Virginia Association for Commercial Real Estate. I want to echo the concerns of the home builders, and we also too are happy to continue to have conversations in the interim. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so we do have Mr. Merkel online to testify as well. Good morning. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh, we can't hear you.
On my end. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go.
Hello? Okay, very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Keith Mark with the town of Leesburg, and want to thank Delegate Martinez for introducing this legislation, and we are very much in support of it. Leesburg, like so many communities around the Commonwealth, as we're growing rapidly, tree preservation is very important to us, and looking at additional tools in the toolbox that can help us with tree preservation is very important. One of these new tools that we're looking at is looking at that critical root zone. Many times that can be beyond the drip line of trees. So really taking the time to map out the important roots to these vital trees, these major trees that we want to preserve on sites, is another tool that we can use to help ensure the success of these existing mature trees. So thank you for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Committee, are there any questions for the patron? We operate by motion.
Madam Chair, I move to report.
All right, so this bill has been moved to, it's been motioned to be reported and properly seconded. If we could, Delegate Ware.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I too applaud the patron for bringing this measure. Certainly an important consideration for any building and construction is trees, both for the reasons that he put forward for the landowner, for those in the neighborhood.
At the same time, I think some of the practical challenges that were brought out in the testimony highlight the fact that sometimes we have competing goods that we're dealing with. And one of the competing goods in this instance is having enough housing and affordable housing across the Commonwealth. And I think this kind of regulation probably goes beyond what we ought to do in terms of placing additional burdens and adding to the cost of housing and new construction. So for that reason, Madam Chair, despite the agreement with much of what the patron has in mind, I can't support the measure.
I have a second. We did get a second. All right. I also have a second if you needed it too. Okay. Thank you so much, Delegate Ware. I believe that this allows the locality the option, and they can weigh that as they make the decisions amongst all their competing priorities. But the roll has been open to report House Bill 2238. Please cast your vote. Okay, so this bill moves forward on a vote of 5-4. Thank you very much, Delegate Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, the committee.
So we have some time before a CNR full committee. Delegate Bloxham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I present from my chair, or do you want me to go to the dais?
At your pleasure, Delegate Bloxham, wherever you are most comfortable.
I'll stay here if that's okay. House Bill 1887, it appears that I'm playing in the sand again this year. Last year we were talking about irrigation ponds, and there were some tweaks that we needed to make to the legislation, and upon talking with the department, they asked for some things too. So this bill really does three things. The first, we're trying to get farm ponds, because we want surface irrigation, away from some of the regulations that mining has. Even though it's considered mining, surface mining, it's really digging sand out. And so we're trying just to ease some of the burdens there from lines 140 to 146. We also, on line, it's in the back of it, we're extending the time, the exemption, from 6 months to 1 year. I had proposed a permanent exemption, but the Mines and Minerals didn't really like that, so I agreed I agreed to accept 1 year. The other thing that it does, Madam Chair, is the department's having a very hard time hiring the inspectors. And right now, the bar to be an inspector is really high, and in the private industry, they can make far more money than they can inspecting sand pits. So what this does is kind of lower that bar and let the department process it and get qualified inspectors. They could have been a building inspector for 20 years and be taught what they're looking for in the sand mines. So that's where that kind of goes to. And then the third thing that it does is last year we heard a bill, I think, about using cyanide in mining, especially gold mining. And instead of attacking gold mining, I think the real purpose is to just limit the use of that toxic chemical in mining. So we kind of added that in to kind of encompass that. But Madam Chair, that's the gist of what this bill does. Like I said, the three main things as I continue to play in the sand.
We can all play in the sandbox together. Delegate Bloxham. All right. Are there any questions from our committee members? Okay. Anybody in the audience in support of this bill? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Larry Corky, Virginia Department of Energy. This bill will help us bring on well-qualified candidates to support our work in worker safety and environmental protection, and we really appreciate the patrons' work. We support the bill.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Good morning.
Morning, Madam Chair. Jake Tabor, Virginia Farm Bureau. We appreciate the delegates' continued work on this, and this helps solve a real issue that many of our producers have run across. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Good morning again.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Jay Ford, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We want to thank the delegate, members of the Farm Bureau, for working this bill with us to find a way to solve the issue he was trying to address and do so in a way that's protective of water quality. So we support this bill. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any folks who are here to speak in opposition to this bill? All right. It's back before our committee, and we operate by motion.
Madam Chair, motion to report. Second.
Okay, the motion is to report. It's been properly seconded. Mr. Clerk, if you can please open the roll. All right, I think that we have all voted by, and this bill moves on by a vote of 9-0. Thank you so much, Delegate Bloxham.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, so we have like a couple of minutes, and I'm going to try to get through this. Delegate Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Speaking to House Bill 2321, the purpose of this bill is to give the Virginia Recreational Facilities Authority the option of transferring the land they own, which we know is Explorer Park, to the County of Roanoke. The Virginia Recreational Facilities Authority was established in 1986 to create a park along the Roanoke River to conserve natural resources, foster tourism, and economic development. The County of Roanoke has put over $8 million into this piece of property, and they have now had, I think, averaging over 250,000 visitors per year. And I do have some speakers here to speak in favor of the bill. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Are there any questions from committee members? Okay, are there folks in the room who are here to speak in support of this bill? Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Phil North, Vice Chair of the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors, and I come before you today to say that the Roanoke County Board of Supervisors and the Biddeford County Board of Supervisors have passed resolutions in support of this bill. With that said, we need the land ownership in Roanoke County to continue to implement the master plan, and the master plan would be working with private-public partnerships to work with us, who will be the landowners once the property transfers to us, because it's their wishes to work with Roanoke County. Appreciate your support on this bill. Thank you.
Good morning.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, I'm Preston Bryant with McGuire Woods Consulting on behalf of the City of Roanoke. The City of Roanoke supports the bill and especially appreciates the provision that does not mandate that the authority be dissolved. It's optional, and the city and the county have had discussions to continue to continue reimagining how the authority might be refocused on a more regional basis. And that's perhaps legislation for another time. But we appreciate the collaboration with Roanoke County, and we support the bill. City of Roanoke supports the bill.
I'm sorry, sir, could you say your name again, please? Preston?
Yes, ma'am. Preston Bryant with McGuire Woods Consulting on behalf of the City of Roanoke.
On behalf of the City of Roanoke. Thank you.
Ma'am.
Are there any folks here in opposition to this bill? Okay. It's back with the committee. I think I need just one moment. Can we go at ease for a quick second? The committee will go at ease for a quick second. I forgot what the committee is back. The committee is back. I don't know what the right words are. All right. We operate by motion.
Madam Chair, move to report.
Second.
All right. The motion is to report House Bill 2321. Okay, so the the bill moves forward by a vote of 7-1-1. Thank you, Delegate Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
And at 9:01, I think our committee has completed its work. Thank you so much. We'll enter into full committee when the chairman comes. Thank you.